When we first went into lockdown last year, it was something that was new for all of us. And a lot of us saw it as something that was a massive test and a big hurdle. And others saw it as a huge opportunity to kind of start new projects or work even harder on what we're working on. And the main thing is that it was something that was completely new for all of us. And so by the end of the first lockdown, I was completely out of shape. I was the heaviest I had ever been. I was super frustrated and my mind was just frazzled. I was working stupid hours and I was probably horrible to be around at home. And now in this most recent lockdown, I'm probably so much nicer to be around at home. I'm back in shape. I'm way less stressed and I'm a lot happier as well. But what I want to talk to you guys about today is the very, very small change, the very minor change that I was able to make, alhamdulillah, that was able to shift me back into gear and go from being at a bit of a low to being where I am now, which is hopefully the other end. So as I said, the lockdown that first originally happened in March last year was just a complete surprise for all of us, and none of us, or a lot of us, had never experienced something like that in our lives. And so for some people, while it was a massive test, for others it was like an opportunity. And for me, I very much so saw it as an opportunity where loads of people at home, they're going to want more content. All these different thoughts went through my head, as I'm sure it did for a lot of us. How can we capitalize off of this opportunity? How can we capitalize off of the fact that we have more time at home, and so on and so forth? Just a whole bunch of opportunities that don't normally occur. The fact that you don't have to travel into work. The fact that you almost have an excuse to start a passion project because there's less people demanding things from you, because everyone's understanding of the fact that everyone's in lockdown. And therefore, I decided to go even more intense on Freshly Grounded. I wanted to really push this project. And so one of the first things I did when we first entered the lockdown is I made a huge, now in hindsight, silly commitment that I would do one episode a day during lockdown.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Welcome to Freshly Grounded, episode 161. 162.
People who work high intense jobs, professional careers, who can't even take time off. Like, we're lucky that we even have this. That's so funny, your drink. It's like you just took the flowers out and started drinking the water.
And while it was so much fun creating content, I didn't realize the amount of stress that would add to me. And that was just one of the things that I did. And so because I was doing an episode a day, I was working crazy hours. I was shooting a 1 to 3 hour episode of Freshly Grounded every day virtually. And back then, because everything was so new, we didn't have the infrastructure in place to do virtual episodes. So now when we do virtual episodes, it's all run on a software which collates everyone's videos and audios together. And so there's not really a lot of editing, if any, done. We can live stream the episodes to YouTube, which means that there's no editing needed, and so many other things. And we now have people in place, editors, and so much more. Back then, because virtual episodes and running things from home was also new for us, it was all done in a really clunky way. So to do an episode, I'll be setting it up, recording it, editing like the whole episode, exporting it, which would be, my laptop is taking hours and hours to export, and I was up till late nights, early hours, all while we had our Zachariah would have been about 5-6 months then. So he would have been going through all of the stuff that a 5 or 6 month was going through. And that was just one thing I decided to do, which is do an episode every single day. And there were so many other things that I committed myself to, or things that I wanted to do, projects I wanted to take on, just because I wanted to take advantage of the fact that I could have a bit more time on my hands. And the result of setting such high tasks and wanting to do so much was the fact that I hadn't allowed myself to get used to my new surroundings, used to the fact that I was now 24/7 going to be inside my house, which has a big psychological impact, especially like the first lockdown, because none of us were used to it. There was adjusting to do with being able to even work from home and manage being at home and being around the family while working, and so many other things. But I almost ignored all of those, and I just thought this is an opportunity for me to just do an episode every single day. And just, we're in lockdown, COVID's hit us, our event had just been cancelled, and so I thought this is either a time where we can just fall or we can just go even harder. And I chose to go harder, thinking that was the right thing to do. And the result of it was that I was super stressed because I'm trying to put out an episode every day. I was just, like I said, probably not the best to be around at home because I'm always thinking about work, I'm always stressed. And my family was so supportive. Like, if I have an idea and I want to implement it, they would never stop me from implementing it, which is amazing. But I think I took advantage of that and I didn't realize it at the time. And kind of as a result of that, when you're stressed, you're like not really caring about the things that you intake, what you're eating, you're exercising or anything like that. and I kind of accepted the fact that I'm not going to be exercising much because I'm in a lockdown. I can do it when the gym's open, and you just kind of think everything's temporary. So while everything is temporary, I'm just going to just completely become tunnel vision. That's what the result was. The result was that I was just super stressed. I was eating bad. I wasn't really exercising. And by the end of it, when Ramadan had happened and Eid had happened, we finally came out of that first lockdown and I was not in a good place. And so the question is, how did I go from that to now being able to sit in front of you guys and still in lockdown, having turned all of that around? The way I did that was through one incredibly simple, incredibly minor change. Alhamdulillah. And that change was something that I think that a lot of us don't even think about. And that is our self-expectations. All I changed was what I expect from myself. In the first lockdown, I expected of myself the same level of output, the same level of productivity, the same results that I expect from myself when I'm at work, when I'm in the office, or when I'm in the studio. And what I had to realize and what I didn't realize is that now I'm in a new environment, I need to realign my expectations, not expect so much from myself. Understand that I'm at home, and so sometimes it's okay that I'm gonna have to take time out and just be with my child. But once I had hit that low at the end of that lockdown, I realized that when we were going back into lockdown, I have to make some major changes. And that change was all internal, it was all a mindset. And it was literally a change of what I expect for myself. Psychologist John Amodio says, there are times where we need to be perfect or near perfect, such as when constructing a bridge or performing surgery. Falling short here can spell danger. But for most of us, most of the time, there is room for a margin of error. Most major league pitchers have never pitched a perfect game in their entire careers. The best hitters who earn $10 million to $20 million fail at least 2/3 of the time. And so I guess that goes to show that when you have super high expectations, or you expect yourself to be perfect, or make the best out of every single situation, you're creating a really unrealistic identity for yourself. And it's okay to sometimes want to take a step back and just assess the situation, such as being in a global pandemic, before trying to overachieve and overburden yourself with such high expectations. And so when we went into the most recent lockdown, I told myself that I need to be okay with having a lower expectation. And that doesn't mean that I'm okay with a lower standard of myself, but it's a case of adjusting my expectations according to the environment that I'm in. And so things like taking time out of my workday to actually have lunch, which is what I wasn't doing before, and use that time to also spend time with my child. Those kind of things made a huge difference. I expected of myself to maintain the company. I expected of myself to maintain our content, rather than expecting of myself for us to build amongst this like crazy time. And it's like people say that, you know, right now in lockdown, the best analogy that I can think of is those who train at the gym. While you're in lockdown, the goal is not to build more muscle. The goal is to maintain the muscle that you have, so that once the gym's open, you can carry on building. And what I was trying to do is build muscle as opposed to just maintaining and being okay with maintaining. And because I was trying to build and I had such high expectations that I was of course going to fail at, I ended up failing really, really badly in terms of like my just mental health and just my physical health. So by changing those expectations, what I told myself going into the most recent lockdown is it's okay to be forgiving of yourself. It's okay to sometimes have rough work days. It's okay to stop working at a certain time and carrying on tasks the next day. It's okay to not expect for yourself to do an episode every single day, which is just insane. As a result, just by simply changing what I expected of myself, I actually exceeded all expectations. I had the bar set at something that was so attainable that I would do all of that stuff with ihsan, with excellence, as opposed to trying to just tick a box and then getting everything done really badly. Even the episodes like that I was doing in the first lockdown, I feel like, well, not the effort that was being put into them wasn't as good as the effort that's now being put into episodes. And that ended up relating in my health as well as in my eventual weight loss again, because when I was not stressed, when I wasn't expecting such high things of myself and then getting frustrated that I wasn't meeting those expectations, I then wouldn't be not taking care of my health because I was frustrated. Instead, because I had expectations kind of reset to my scenario, to my environment, I was able to meet those expectations and then also be more free in my mind to sleep better, to eat better, to think more freely, and to enjoy time with my family and just be a better person at home. So if you guys are able to take one thing from this video, it's adjust your expectations according to your situation and you'll be much happier, and I hopefully am a living result of that. So that's my story in a really weird and unclear way. Adjust your expectations of yourself. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video inshallah, hopefully a more upbeat one, but I hope this was of some benefit. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.